Hey guys, enough said. Meet Simmons back with another video. A topic that's been in the media quite a bit lately, especially with this presidential race, and we're not getting into that at all.
No.
I am apolitical.
No,
we're
not over here.
We're not getting that at all. But black men have been at the forefront of this presidential race, and in a not so good way. You know, former President Barack Obama said some things. There's been stuff all over about the black men's vote, who we're voting for, who we're not voting for. And so I think it's just important to understand the plight of a lot of black men within families, especially. But this is not a political video, so if you want that, please click off because you ain't finding it here. Not addressing it, won't address it. But anyway, so here's a video from this therapist, and she made some really good points about affirming black men. So here we go.
Psychologist, I can tell you one of the main things you need to understand about black men and relationships is this. It is incredibly difficult for someone to model what they have never had. And most black men grow up hearing the message that their worth is tied to what they can provide tangibly. That can be working into no end just to pay bills and keep a roof over their heads. That's it. I've also found this difference in the messaging that black men versus black women get. There are many different messages, but a lot of times they're told to focus on taking care of their house, like handling bills and protection, while women are often encouraged to create a home, a space filled with warmth, love, and emotional connection. What many black men have never had is this affirming relationship that values them for who they are, beyond what they can provide tangibly. So we live in a society that adultifies and dehumanizes black boys who grow into black men facing a world that not only doesn't support their growth, but works extra hard to try to stunt the growth of black men.
Wow.
She's right.
Yeah, and she actually goes on to talk about how you can do that. So I'll link down to the bottom of this video. The rest of her, she's really good. She's definitely worth a follow on Instagram. But she's right. She's absolutely right. And there's some cultural things that she tap danced around there, but I mean we have a culture of hey, if you ain't doing this and you ain't got that, then you're nothing. And as men, we all know that our worth is absolutely tied to what we can provide. It ain't, you know, we can tap dance around and act like it doesn't happen, but it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. You are what you can provide first, and then you're the person that you are. I can't change that. You can't change that. You can't change that. That's what it is. You are absolutely judged by what you can provide as a man. Some people don't have a problem with it. Some people disagree with it. I personally don't have a problem with it because I understand the game, and so I know the rules, and that's what it is. So it's extremely difficult to explain that to a young man who's not been raised with a strong male model in his life, to not become bitter or to check out, which a lot of young men are doing now. Unfortunately, they're checking out from marriage, checking out from relationship, just absolutely just kind of going inside themselves. And I can understand that, but I definitely understand that we need strong men, especially strong black men in our culture, to step forward and take up the mantle. But we haven't really made a space for that. We haven't. We have not. Absolutely have not made a space for that, because if you don't have this or look this way or dress this way or walk this way or talk this way or have a certain kind of swag about you, then you're just kind of pushed to the side until you can find a way to level up, and then you find a way to level up, and then you're expected to be this upstanding citizen and never expect anything from people, never require anything. That doesn't work either. It doesn't work either. You can't have any standards. Once you climb to the top of Mount Everest and you're in the top 10, 15, 20% of men, and you can't have any standards. You still have to take what's given. Even though you have held up your end of the bargain, you gotta take what's given. And that's not a fair deal. As a person that has 2 sons of dating and marrying age, no, I'm never gonna tell my son to take a bad deal. I'm never gonna do it. And I've had many men that didn't like that. I don't care. My sons do not have children, so therefore I said, don't marry a woman who has kids. A lot of people don't like that. Well, what the freak does my son know about being somebody's daddy? Nothing. He knows nothing about being somebody's father. So why would he walk into a situation that's not advantageous for him, where he's gonna be expected to know things and do things? I got to make every mistake in the world with my kids. I got to be a father and make the mistakes and put the diaper on backwards and all that stuff like that. And nobody judged me for it because I was young and I was learning how to be a father.
And that was your kid.
And it was my kid. So it's a different ball game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when she was talking, and even when you were just talking, I was thinking about this. We, as women, we require our men to be emotionally intelligent when it comes to how they interact with us. But I think we're pretty emotionally ignorant when it comes to how we interact with them. And the reason I'm saying that is
about to get in
because
trouble.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You know I don't care. You know I don't care. But the reason I say that is because we, as she's alluding to, valuing a person means you have to fully see them. That means you have to see their attributes, their character, and all that they are, not just what they can provide or what they can do. So in order to do that, there's a level of emotional intelligence that I think a lot of women lack. We don't take the time to listen. We don't take the time to study. We don't take the time to understand. We don't take the time to really go through the trouble of studying who you guys are as men, because other women tell other women what men want. And then we listen to that crap, and then we bring that baggage into our relationships. So when it comes to understanding the male species, I think women do a horrible, as a whole, horrible job of doing that, because we don't have the emotional intelligence to understand what makes you thrive, what makes your heart beat, what you like, what you don't like. We don't do that because we're so self-absorbed and ready for y'all to serve us that we don't do a good job of doing the inverse for you guys. And we see that show up in so many different ways. You do. You see it all across society.
And I will, like I said before, you have to provide in this world. As a man, that's part of your duties. That's what it is. But so many men get caught up in the fact that now I've got all these things that now I can ignore the fact that I'm also a real person. I don't have to, address my feelings or learn how to speak to people properly or learn how to properly love my woman because I got all these things. We're performance-based. And the problem with that is that you create monsters. We're sitting here now in the wake of this whole Sean Combs, P. Diddy thing, and we grew up, listening to P. Diddy and all that stuff like that. And you always heard the little stories, but we're sitting here in the wake of this now, of this man who was a billionaire but had character this big because he was performance.
He was producing.
He was producing.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be around it because he was producing something. But his character, his net worth and gross and all that thing far exceeded his character. And so that's the stylized version of it. But it's what happens to a lot of young men and a lot of men in general. They get all these means because they've been performance based their entire life, and they may have a gift or a talent. And they get to the top and they can't handle it. They have nothing to sustain them there because they have no character, because they've been working and grinding all their life to get to a certain point, but they have no way, no means of sustaining it. And then they do something crazy and everybody's like, oh, well, he's a monster. Well, that monster was a monster of your own making. Societally, culturally, parents, influences, those people kept pushing that person to the forefront, and they rode around the blood money.
Yeah.
All of them. So that's the kind of things that we're up against when you don't affirm people properly and you don't give them their human, you dehumanize them. You would turn them into a paycheck or something like that. It's extremely dangerous.
And then it's also hard. Let's kind of extrapolate it all the way out to, let's say, marriage or committed relationship between a man and a woman. So you've got this performance-based mentality that you have based on societal pressures and culture. And then in a relationship with me, you're performing, providing. And then when it comes to being in a relationship with me, now I want you to be vulnerable. Now I want you to open up. Now I want you to share. But when you're so used to having to just perform and provide, to be able to have that level of vulnerability in the relationship is very, very difficult, especially if as a woman, you don't cultivate that environment where he does feel safe to be open, where he does feel safe to be vulnerable, where he does feel safe to share who he is. Because if mom, anytime he cried or anytime he shared how he felt, if she gave him a hard time, then he's gonna really struggle. And especially, I love what she said, how is it that we're expecting our Black men to do something that they may possibly have never seen? How are we expecting them to lead and to just be these strong alpha males when maybe they've never actually seen that? So it's super difficult to expect that. And we can talk all day about the adulterization of little Black boys. Being a former educator in the classroom, you see it. Bigger, stronger, so you assume, oh, you're older. No, that baby is still a baby.
Yes.
And the dehumanization of it, you see it all in the school system. So if you ever want to see this in real life, just go volunteer to school if you haven't been around
Absolutely.
it, and you'll see it real time, like the who gets in trouble the most, who's in who's on the suspension list, and all these things. I guarantee you there are brown boys, black boys that are at the top of that list.
Absolutely. It's not because they're worse. It's not. That's the lie. Is that we're somehow more aggressive, more animalistic. As a very large black man, and I've been a big boy my entire life, I know for a fact that there's a lot of times that I was judged unjustly simply because of my size and the color of my skin.
Yeah.
And I was a kid just like the guy next to me. Just because he's 110 pounds and I'm 170 pounds in the 7th grade doesn't mean that I'm any more prepared emotionally or psychologically to handle any other situation.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that I'm looking you in your eyes as a teacher, male or female, and that I happen to possibly to intimidate you. That's got nothing to do with me. That's all you and your social biases.
Yeah.
And so I just really bothers me, and I hate to see so many of our brothers struggling.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that we need to do as men, and I don't turn my back on that. I don't shy away from that to help each other out.
Absolutely.
But certainly, first and foremost, we have to address our culture. And our culture right now is not where it should be. I've heard it said that our culture is trash, and I can't even argue it. I can't even argue it. People don't like to hear it, but I can't even argue that, because any culture that sets its leaders up, its future leaders, young men and boys, up to fail, is absolutely garbage. Because if we can't build our young men up, we are lost.
We also need to be held accountable. And that is the problem
That's
that
part of
we
it.
have.
Yeah.
We need to be held accountable, because accountability is love. That it is. Holding someone accountable is how you show love.
It's a form of it.
And if you reject accountability, you're in trouble. And we're seeing it. I ain't gotta even name nothing specific. Just go on the social medias.
If you watch this video, you know. If you're actually a person that can look at something and actually look at it objectively, come on. I ain't even gotta say it.
Yep.
You know. But with that,
that's enough said.